Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage award-winning BBC News education correspondent Mr. Sean Coughlan with yogi, mystic, best-selling author and poet Sadhguru.
Hello everybody, lovely to see you all here, lovely to be here. This is an event with many dignitaries, many famous names, many people who are very celebrated in education and politics and in business. And if we were in England, we'd say this is a gathering of the great and the good. But today's session is going to think about that in a different way. What does it mean to be great? What does it mean to be good? Are these things which should be about from the inside rather than the outside? You know, what is success? If any of you were here earlier, Bear Grylls was talking about fighting his own inner doubts and the idea of fighting your own sense of failure and fear. And again, it's about how do you measure winning? What is winning really? Is it something that happens? Is it an inner battle rather than out external battles that you win in public? Is it a private thing as well? We're all wearing these badges, identity badges. But what do we know about our own identity? What do we know about ourselves? And we have someone here who hopefully will help us with some of these questions. Sadhguru, as you know, is a yogi, an author, an environmentalist, and has been named as one of India's 50 most influential people. But he's also a yogi for the YouTube generation. He's a bridge between the world of spiritual thinking and the internet, the world of instant communication. And he's won the Indira Gandhi Award for his environmental projects. And he's also in the Guinness Book of Records for planting the most saplings in one day. And I think perhaps that's the nearest we're going to get to Guinness during the St. Patrick's weekend as well. His Isha Foundation has worked on many, many education projects, and we've seen some of the videos here, and support hundreds of other schools, government schools as well as their own schools. And the phrase he uses is inner engineering, so it'd be very interesting to know what inner engineering means. He's also worked with prisoners on the idea of inner freedom as well as outer freedom. Now this is a pretty big hall.
I did not arrange a prison break.
Pardon?
I did not arrange a prison break. Outer freedom means…
And I'll just say one last thing. This is a very big hall, but in fact, by Sadhguru's standards, this is quite a small crowd, because he was telling me earlier that he's spoken to more than 1 million people in a gathering in India, all in one place at one time, which is pretty good rock star status to have a crowd of 1 million. I'm going to ask him a few questions, and then hopefully at the end we'll have a chance for some of you to put your thoughts, because I know there are lots of people here who are very interested in him and his teachings. So we'll have a quick chat up here, a little bit of a chat, and then some of you might have some questions you might think about and want to put yourselves. So the last 5 minutes, hopefully, we can put to that and give you a chance to have your voices as well. So I'll sit down. I've got the smaller chair. Now, to begin with, I mean, one of the big issues that comes up, particularly in schools in the West, is about whether there should be more awareness of well-being, whether it should be more than just exams, more than just getting into university, whether we need to actually pay attention to a more holistic idea of education. Can you say how your teaching might reflect that?
Namaskar. This has become a major problem just about everywhere, that because education has become a way of entering the job market and getting the first fruit among your generation. So there is such a madness happening that in 2015, over 18,000 children committed suicide in India. A child is a fresh life. But if our children start taking their own lives, we must understand we are doing something very fundamentally wrong. When children commit suicide, this means as a society we've gotten it all wrong. But this is happening, and over 7,000 of them were below 13 years of age. When it came to my awareness, I thought we need to do something about this, and we devised a simple program. And we wanted to deliver it in as many schools as possible. In one calendar year, that is 2016, we delivered this program in 35,000 schools across India. But I want you to know, 35,000 schools sounds like a big number, covering over 20 million children, but it's still a drop in the ocean. It's still too small, it's not a solution. This is going into proportions which are completely unacceptable. Somewhere one happened is… I'm not saying one life is less than the other, but the numbers clearly showing we're doing something totally wrong with education. This is mainly happening because in India, passing mark is 98.
It's pretty tough.
Even if you get 98, parents will ask, what happened to the other 2%? So it's putting such a pressure on the children. Education has become torturous. A few schools, I would say maybe 5–6% of the schools in the country have innovated and doing education in a completely different way. Those children are doing great. In our schools, you must see, children are so joyful. And this is something. When about 15 years ago, when we wanted to start this school, I just got a bunch of people. I made sure, this is one thing in our schools, that there are no professional teachers. We have doctors, engineers, accountants, all kinds of people trained by us, but never professional teachers. We don't want people to think they can teach, we just want adults to just sit with the children, encourage them and, learn with them. So when I told them a vision of about, I spoke to them over 6 hours continuously and told them, this is what we need to create. Then they said, Sadhguru, how do we know we are fulfilling your vision? I said, because these are, residential schools, I said when children are leaving the school, if they're crying, if they're in tears to leave the school, and when they come back, they're very happy they're back, that means you are fulfilling my vision. Because I did everything possible not to go to the school, quite successfully.
So you weren't a very good pupil?
Today, I can very gladly say this, that when the term vacations are over, voluntarily, at least about 20% of the children come back 2 weeks early to set up the school. They want to be there. They don't want to come on that day, they want to come 2 weeks early.
And if you had to describe a few key reasons why you've managed to make people feel that school can be a happy place, what are the secrets to that?
The fundamental thing is this: all the teachers are volunteer teachers. They are there because they want to do that. They are not there for livelihood. This is very important. We are handling education like an assembly line, It's like an assembly line. Now a bunch of children come to your class, you do whatever you can do and throw them into the next class and never again think about them. It doesn't work like that. It needs engagement. It needs involvement. Without involvement, a child is not interested in you. A child does not respect those people who are not involved. Even if parents show lack of involvement, they will turn out to be something else. They need involvement. So, what we're doing is 20 children stay in a household with 2 dedicated parents, and they are with them for 7 years before they shift to the next parents. So there is a very strong bond between the teacher and… hello? Between the teacher and the child. On an average, for every 4.5 children, we have an adult. It's expensive, but we are able to do it because none of them are paid, they're volunteers.
Yeah.
So, this is fantastic, what's happening there, but you can't scale this up in today's world. Where do you get that many people?
Even if you couldn't replicate that model, do you think that in mainstream schools around the world there needs to be more reflection of the inner life, rather than… Because now we measure things by exam results, we measure things by university entrances. We need a different sort of way of calibrating success so that you can somehow reflect on people's idea of their self-worth, whether they think about themselves in a positive way. Is there a need for that?
See, that comes later. First of all, what I've seen is, now a teacher has to, let's say, teach a physics class, the teacher is nervous, anxious. They are reading the book again and again and trying to understand, don't want to make a mistake. I said, no, you will not prepare. You will go there in front of the children, you sit with them, you read the book, make a fool of yourself. It's very important that you make a fool of yourself. A child likes it. Because you're acting like one Superman all the time. No, you come down to their thing and read with them, you understand something, they understand something, exchange this, a very active process of wanting to learn. Children don't want to leave the library and go. At 11 o'clock in the night, they're coming and knocking and saying, please, I want to read this, I want to know now. And this engagement is what makes the difference. And the teachers are like their parents, totally engaged. Parents may not have the time, but these people are completely engaged. I feel the fundamental thing is this dedication and devotion towards that. If you deliver education without the needed devotion and dedication towards what you're doing, I think you will inevitably set up a assembly line. So one solution to scale up, which we are working on right now, is the subject matter, whatever physics, chemistry stuff, get the best teachers and have it recorded, it's already there. From 1st standard to 12th standard, everything that you need is already there. Subject matter happens on digital platforms. The teachers are just trained for involvement, engagement, for inspiration and keeping the atmosphere very joyful and lively. Teachers are just trained for this, they do not know any physics, chemistry. Physics, chemistry is happening on the video, but the teacher is engaged with the children, learning with them, encouraging them, inspiring them. This is working very well for us.
I mean, you've written a lot about the way of developing people's sense of themselves, and you use the phrase inner engineering, which is a very interesting phrase, and it brings the worlds of spirituality and technology almost together in that phrase. Could you explain a little bit, what is inner engineering, and can we all have it?
Essentially, engineering means you want to create situations the way you want it. That's engineering. If this building turns out the way you want it, you say it's well engineered. Well, we are engineering the world in so many different ways, with this comfort and convenience has happened to us. But is it not important that you are the way you want yourself to be? So making yourself the way you want yourself to be consciously, the tools and technologies to allow this to happen within you is inner engineering process. We made this part of the schools not as a program, but as a daily atmosphere. The teachers are into it, this is a must. If somebody wants to teach in our school, they must go through inner engineering, because if you yourself are an issue, how are you going to have it, handle children? Because it's not like handling adults. Children come up with every day with a new issue. That's what is nice. No old issues, every day new issue. So if every day they're throwing new issues at you, you must be able to sort it out. If you want to be able to sort it out, you should not be the issue. You must always be a part of the solution, never a part of the problem. So, our teachers are continuously put through these processes. Annually there are, there are sadhana time, this is called sadhana means… Sadhana literally means tools or devices. So, they learn to keep themselves well. 1 week, 10 days, they go into deep states of sadhana, silence and practice about themselves. Because if we believe what we are doing is important, the first thing we need to do is work upon ourselves. Before you touch another human being, especially a child, your hand must be thoroughly clean. It's very important. If you don't take care of this, if you're just doing it as a profession, if you set up an assembly line where you think you'll churn out whatever, well, you may be serving the job market, but we are not producing great human beings. If you do not produce great human beings, how do you build great nations? How do you make a great world? There is no such thing as a nation, a world or a society. These are just words. There are only individual human beings in reality. If we produce great human beings, great individuals, if individual human beings blossom, then you have a great atmosphere. Otherwise, we'll only be talking about it.
And also, one thing that's very striking is that the language you use there is about the language of a spiritual journey. It's about thinking about who we are, what we want to be, and silence and meditation. But in fact, I think about my children. They live on computer screens, and their mobile phones are more or less glued to their hands. They never stop sending messages on Snapchat or whatever it is. And they have a world where there are no silences. They have a world where there are no moments of reflection. And it's a constant race. And they go to school, and then everything else is cranked up. Everything is getting faster and faster. Do you think we need somehow to detach people from their world of phones and computers and instant messaging and somehow get a little bit of space back in our lives?
See, I know there is a certain attraction about the phone screens and computer screens because the entire cosmos is happening right there. That part is there, but apart from that, I feel children have gone towards it mainly because parents are also seeing it as a way of keeping them off their radar, or it's like they're not running around somewhere, they're not doing something else, something on the phone or screen is okay. But no, this virtual world can be more dangerous than the real world. One of the most important things that needs to happen… See, first of all, people need to understand this, that human species is not an endangered species. That is, everybody need not be anxious to produce children. If you were a tiger, I would say, please reproduce because you're endangered.
Yes. Hopefully there are no tigers here, but I think we're okay.
So, once you have a child, you must understand you are starting a 20-year project. If you're not committed for a 20-year project, please don't have it. Today it's by choice. It is no more simply it will happen. It's something you can choose. So if you are not ready for a 20-year commitment, don't have a child. It is a 20-year project. That is if they do well. If they don't do well, it's a lifelong project.
It's a life sentence.
So, without this commitment, children are being born and they're happy, you're not messing me up, you're on your phone, I don't care what you're looking at. This attitude is doing a lot of damage. You must see this. One thing is, the children, our children, when they go back home, A lot of parents come with a little embarrassment and little ashamed. They say when they come home, they're telling us how to eat properly. They're telling us, what are you doing all the time sitting in front of this television? One important thing that every parent and every school should do is expose them sufficiently to nature. This is one thing we are doing very actively. Fortunately, we have a 10,000 square mile rainforest right behind the school. So we engage them in nature heavily. They are not interested in the phone and the computer screen. They want to go out and experience this because they have developed that affinity towards life. If this comes, it is not that you should not use your computer or phone, it should not become a compulsive force. Nothing is a problem as long as it's consciously used. The problem is everything is becoming compulsive. This is a fundamental that we are always watching the child for. If the child is becoming compulsive about anything, even his study, if he's becoming very compulsive, we break that cycle and put him into something else so that there are no compulsive cycles. He learns to handle his life consciously. This is very, very, very important. Otherwise, they will fall into some trap. Somebody may be compulsive about the phone screen, somebody is compulsive about something else, about eating, even the study. Compulsiveness is not going to be complementary to their life.
Interesting. And also, on the subject of technology, your own career is very interesting because in a way people might think that a spiritual thinker should be living on top of a mountain or hidden in a forest or somewhere hermit-like and thinking very deep thoughts alone. Whereas in fact, you live on YouTube and you live on…
Oh, I'm not on the YouTube.
And if you search online, there are lots of references and you have all sorts of broadcasts. Do you think that we need to rethink the place of the religious leader or the spiritual leader or the philosopher, so that is there a sort of contradiction there, or…
Anyway, Sean, let me give you some first-hand information. All the caves in the Himalayas are taken. So, spiritual process is not about mountains. Spiritual process is about turning inward. Why is turning inward important? Because human experience is generated from within. Your pain and pleasure, joy and misery, agony and ecstasy happens from within you. When everything is happening within you, if you don't turn inward, you will be an accidental life. So, for turning inward, where do you have to go? Wherever you go, you'll have your problems. People think life in a cave in the mountain is easy. No. We created cities and towns and residences because in this level of organization, it's so much easier. If you live in the cave alone, do you know how many things you will have to manage every day? You'll hardly have any time to meditate, believe me. Just fetching the water, making the food, this will take your entire day, I'm telling you, because everything is difficult. So, people went to caves at one time, or even now, simply because they did not have accommodations to withdraw. They don't have a private accommodation to withdraw, so they went into the caves. There are other energetic reasons as to why you want to be like a womb in the Mother Earth's breast. That is fine, that's a different aspect. But we must also understand, most people's image of what is a spiritual person or a yogi, they got it from the calendar, In the calendar, they saw one yogi like this. He sat like that for a period of time, that doesn't mean all his life he sat like that. People have these crazy images. Some journalist recently comes and asks me, "You drive your own car, how can you be a yogi?" In ancient times, all the yogis were walking. I said, "You fool, in ancient times everybody was walking."
Yes. They didn't have the choice. We have a little bit of time, but just before we get to questions...
But anyway, I don't live on the YouTube.
Good. Well, I'm very glad you're here in real life here today with us.
About the YouTube and the social media and the works. See, these are all different levels of empowerment for a human being. Just because some people are using it negatively, this does not mean technology is a bad thing. It is a most wonderful thing that's happened to us. I was in United States. Sadhguru said, somebody asked me, Sadhguru, who are all the other great gurus in the past? I said, no, I'm the greatest guru. They just looked at me, this is Mike Tyson stuff. I said, see, when a Krishna was there, this gentle being, if he spoke, maybe these 50 people heard him. Those people just looked, they could not hear.
Do you think we've lost some of that gentleness? Have we lost some of that?
No, Buddha came. What he did was, when Gautam Buddha spoke, you know what he did? If a crowd like this means, he will have his monk standing every 25 feet. If he says one sentence, this monk will repeat it, that monk will repeat it, that monk will repeat it, so people will hear it. Okay.
And now we have Twitter.
But now I can sit here, if we want, we can make the entire world hear it. This is a tremendous possibility. Never before was this possible, ever. So, a whole lot of negative things are being transmitted. I took it upon myself that we must use technology to the limit and make sure that people get the best things on the technology platforms, not the worst things.
And in the world at the moment, there's all sorts of…
But I never sat in the YouTube.
No, you're here incarnate. Lots of turmoil and bad things happening in the world, and lots of tensions between countries and peoples. What is the role of a yogi or a religious leader or a spiritual thinker? You know, what influence can you bring to bear? Because you have a very big audience, people who follow your ideas, and many other people who promote peace and harmony are out there saying things. But it would seem to be that their message or their influence can't be very great when you look at the world and the state it's in. What can you bring to bear on it to bring some of your ideas into the public discourse to change the way we behave towards each other?
This conference, they're saying it's the Davos for the education. I must tell you this, when I was at Davos, somebody important there asked me this question, Sadhguru, what is one thing that we can offer you which will make a difference in the world? I said, give me 25 people that I name for 5 days. You will see within 2 to 3 years' time, significant changes will happen on the planet. They asked, who are these 25 people? I named the 25 heads of state of the most prominent nations. Give them to me for 5 days. If you come, Sean, 2.5 days is enough. Because they are politicians, I asked for 5 days.
And they work very slowly.
5 days, if they turn inward, if the way they think and feel alters even 10%, the world will change. Because we are sitting on a planet, for the first time, this is the first generation where we have the necessary resource, capability and technology to address any problem on the planet. Name it, nourishment, health, education, whatever you want, you can address it right away. We have all the necessary resource. Only thing that is missing is an inclusive way of looking at life. There is no inclusive experience. Our education systems are making people horribly exclusive that they cannot get along even with themselves. Yes.
Very good point, very good
There
point.
was a time You know, this is so dramatic from my childhood. I'm just watching in India, for example. There was a time families were up to 100, 200 people all living in one house. You know, father, mother, grandfather, uncles, aunts, everybody in one house. Till they become 15, 16 years of age, most children would not know who their parents are. Anybody who's taking care of them, they thought it was fine. They grew up with such a sense of inclusiveness. As people got educated, then it became like this: family means me, my husband, wife and parents, not the wife's parents, just my parents. Then slowly it became like this, parents were little too much, we got rid of them, husband, wife, children. Slowly we're coming to a place, husband, wife can only meet on the weekend. If they're there for 7 days, they're finished. Fortunately, most of them travel, so it's okay. So we are coming to a place where nobody can get along with anybody. This is the consequence of the type of education we are delivering. This has to change. An inclusive dimension has to come. If there is inclusiveness in our experience of life, we won't kill each other.
That is very, very interesting. We have a few minutes, or we don't really, but I think we should definitely try and cheat the clock and get some questions. I know there are people here who have come especially to see you, so it'd be very good if we have a chance to… Should we take maybe 3 together, because I know we're against the time. There's somebody there, and there's a woman there, and a man behind, and they have microphones. Could you… I'm slightly conscious of the time, so nice, brief
sure.
comments.
Thank you very much, because we heard so many new ideas. Thank you. I am a parent, I have a son. When I entered the school with my son once, I was hearing the names of the children who have got the birthday that day, and the school was announcing in the morning. I was wondering that such a boring thing, the child has nothing to do with his birthday, and today you said child needs new issues. From that day, in my family, we have started a process that instead of his birthday, which is an achievement day for the parents, we do on the first day of the year and ask, what was your biggest achievement in this year? And we started celebrating the achievement day for the child. First of all, they change every day. Second, they change in nature every day. They find a lot of pride in telling others that this is my achievement and this is what I am celebrating.
Okay.
Do you think, Sadhguru, there is any point if we can scale it up? Thank you, then I'll be blessed.
Thank you very much. And we'll take a couple more and we can bring them together. There's a woman there, thank you.
It's such a privilege to be here with you today. The children in your school at Isha are brought up in a very sheltered, very protected, warm, caring environment. What happens when they go out into the big bad world and they join the rat race? How will they be able to cope?
Very good. And there's a man just behind you.
Where do you live?
Could you borrow the microphone from you?
Where do you live, that you're in the big bad world? Where is that?
That's where we live.
Yeah, my name is Venkat. I run an initiative called Education for All. What I find is that there is a lot of gap between the rich and the poor, rich students and the poor students, the rich teachers and the poor teachers. How this bridge can be gapped. I am also a Guinness World Record holder for collecting maximum number of stationery in 24 hours for charity in Dubai. That is my introduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So 3 questions. So one about celebrating achievement, the big bad world, and that you're about the inequality of access to resources. What do you think?
About celebrating achievements, I think usually wherever certain things are done well, it gets celebrated in so many ways. I'm little skeptical about making a very organized celebrations for achievements because it leads to various aspects. First of all, always wanting to get a prize, always wanting to get attention. This is one thing, we constantly work upon children not to seek attention. Attention seeking can cost you so much later on in life that you don't know how to simply be by yourself. All the time somebody has to keep on telling you, you're doing great, doing great. I keep hearing this in America, it's little overdone. All the time somebody is telling you, you're great, you're great, you're great. Everything is amazing, everything is great. And here she says it's a big bad world. So, definitely you must appreciate children when they do well. It's all right if you wish to do that, but I wouldn't personally organize a day for achievements. I wouldn't look at it that way. Right now, all the 365 days are taken by somebody, you know. There's an International Yoga Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day.
Yeah.
For a normal guy, there is no day left.
Exactly there. Or you could have it. Underachievement day,
Women
maybe.
have a day, but…
No. What would be your greatest achievement?
And,
if you were sending yourself a card?
Huh?
If you were sending yourself a card, what's your greatest achievement?
If I…
If you were sending yourself a card to celebrate an achievement, what's your own personal greatest achievement?
For me? Oh, I'm a big failure, so… Because what my goals are, I know I will die without fulfilling them. And it's my wish and blessing to everybody that all of you should die without fulfilling your goals. That means your goals must be so large, you take one step. You can only set the direction for what you want. The work you do till the end of your life, the next generation should pick it up and hopefully they will complete it. So, only if you have a very constipated goal, you're done with it by the time you're 60 and you think you've done a great achievement, you should not look at life like that. If you really want to see what needs to happen in the world, obviously we cannot fulfill this in our lifetime, isn't it? How much ever we do. So, I never look back on any achievement because I don't think anything is an achievement. Because within myself, my thing is always that I way fall short of what I want to do all the time.
Well, thank you very much. I feel like we're just starting now, I'd love to carry on, but…
No, this big bad…
Yeah, the big bad world. We have to be thrown off very soon.
Big bad world. It is neither big nor bad, the world. It's very small. For 7.3 billion people, it's too small. We're struggling with the space, isn't it? So it's small and it's not bad. It's just that, I don't know why you're meeting all the wrong people.
Well, on that
As far as I'm concerned, wherever I go, any part of the world, I must tell you this is my biggest fortune in my life. Anywhere I go, whichever part of the world, for me, not a single day ever passes without me witnessing tears of love and joy and ecstasy around me. I don't think it's a bad world.
No. Well, that's a very happy note on which to finish, and could I ask you to give Sadhguru a big round of applause? And…
Yeah, you taking the cue from him.
And it's well, I think we're finished now, so it's been a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. And thank you all very much too.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation for award-winning BBC News education correspondent, Mr. Sean Coughlan, and yogi, mystic, best-selling author and poet, Sadhguru.